Thank you for joining us now ahead of the general elections. Nigerians are embarking on panic buying at shopping malls and stores to stock up basic essentials and food items over fears of possible unrest if the general elections spiral out of control and disrupt household basic essentials. Now, this is in spite of declining purchasing power and rising inflation occasioned by the Naira redesign policy and slow circulation of the new Naira note. Well, let's get started now and look at the implication of this and the impact that this may have on the outcome of the election. Now, our guest, Nelson Kujumi, Policy and Public Affairs Analyst, he joins us virtually now. Thank you for joining us. Nelson, we'll appreciate your time for joining us again.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Yeah. Just before we get into, this conversation proper, just give us your observation, or will I say assessment of the situation out there as regards Naira scarcity. So do you think it has gotten better since the president made that broadcast that the 200 Naira note should be made available to, to run alongside the new Naira note?
Well, thank you very much. One has monitored the process, and one can report authoritatively that based on one's observations and interactions, it's like since yesterday there has been remarkable improvement on like previous days. Based on one's interaction, one has gotten the information that the banks are dispensing majorly the 200 Naira notes. Don't forget that the 200 Naira notes, the old 200 Naira notes was, broadcasts that it should remain as legal tender by Mr. President. And the banks are taking delivery of that denomination in a higher volume. And, people are accessing it at the banks and even the ATMs. And from the feelers one got, you go on the road and you see crowds in some banks' premises.
Okay, so Akujumi was trying to explain that the situation has gotten better with regards to the the permission or the directive by the president to allow the old 200 Naira note in circulation until April 10. I mean, I think he was trying to talk to us about that situation.
Sorry, I'm back. Sorry.
Yeah, please continue. You were saying that the situation has gotten better. However, there are queues and crowd in some, banks, commercial banks.
Absolutely, there are queues, and the information one got is that when you see that number of a large number of crowd in front of banks, when you pass on the road, you see that some banks' premises are devoid of, human traffic, but some banks are heavily populated with the human, traffic. So I think since yesterday we have seen remarkable improvement, and one hopes that the banks can keep it up within today and tomorrow, so that people are able to access whatever little funds they can get, so that they can, make their purchases in preparations for Saturday's presidential and National Assembly elections.
Now that you talk about purchases, it looks like there's ongoing panic buying among Nigerians. We saw a lot of them, storm the market, stores, shopping malls to stock up, basic essentials ahead of the poll. How do you react to this?
Well, it is tandem with our tradition or our culture pre-election days that, because we all know that come election day, there will be restriction of movements. Businesses will not be opened, except like what we have witnessed in the not recent past, where polling stations venue have become places where you can, be able to get little products for personal consumption. But the purchases that people are making right now pre the election is in tandem with what has become a custom and tradition of our people whenever election is come, because that on election day, the whole country is grounded economically, except for election. So it is natural. It is what our people have been doing for some time, past, and until we get to a stage whereby we don't disrupt economic activities for election, that is when our people will now recognize that, look, whether election is taking place or not, I can still go to my market. The market woman will just go there and vote, and he will go back to his or her stall. And you can access the supermarket, you can access the shopping malls. But we all know that on election day, economic activity comes to a halt, except for skeletal services by small scale businesses located within their vicinity.
Now, there are concerns that this mass shopping or panic buying could create a kind of artificial inflation. So what's your position on that? Do you think that holds or opinion is true?
No, I disagree because of the cashless policy that is, that we are trying to cope with. Don't forget that a lot of us, even as we speak now, we are yet to access the new Naira notes, and because of the fear of the crowd we see at the banks. As I speak to you, it says the new Naira notes has come into circulation. I'm yet to lay my hands on any because I see the crowd and I'm like, oh, I can't withstand this. I've been doing, e-transactions ever since, and that is what I still continue to do. So I don't think it will create inflation because even right now, those that want to do cash transactions, the cash is very, very, scarce. So the prices of goods will remain where they are because people are not able to access them with necessary funds. You go to the banks, if it is not a bank in which your account is domiciled, you get less than somebody whose account is domiciled in that branch of the bank. So the cash economy that we are used to, because of the change that we are going through now, has led to a lull in economic activity. And I think it will take some time before we adjust properly.
Some people believe that, I mean, you have said it do not have any impact on the prices of commodities or trigger any kind of inflation at the moment. But some people believe that, yes, because people can still make payment via e-platforms, that that again shows that shopping mall operators may want to take advantage of the situation or the mass shopping to increase the prices of items in the market.
Well, I disagree once again because it is only those who have money in their accounts that can make those purchases or those shopping you are talking about. A lot of our people who are queued in front of banks are going there to collect maybe 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 naira. They just want something that can keep themselves and the family alive, for today. So when you are talking about shopping, you all recognize that since the cashless policy has started, a lot of businesses have suffered, especially people who deal in perishable goods. They have had to do with, selling of their goods at prices below what ordinarily they would have sold it because of the absence of cash. And, the telecommunication system, the e-system is jam-packed because that seems the only way out for a lot of people who don't want to go through the stress. So we need to educate our people that, the difficulty they are having, in making e-transfer is not that the networks are not working. It's because of the heavy traffic. And you know what happens when you have heavy traffic on a road? There will be go slow. So people must recognize that, look, these things are normal. When you have too much people crowded in a room, everybody has to take his or her steps gently so that you don't step on the other person. And that is exactly what is happening to the e-traffic network. So it is not that, there's some witches or wizards or because of election, that is why your e-transaction is not, functioning optimally. It's because we are changing from a cash economy to a cashless economy. And a lot of people who were not formally in the cashless economy are now trying to come in. And, because of the volume of traffic, it has led to a reduction in the speed of, transmission, if I should put it that way.
We've not had a situation as critical as this. Do you think that this may affect the outcome of the election, given the fact that people are still, finding it difficult to access the new Naira note, do you think it will affect the outcome of election because people cannot travel? Some people want to, travel to their polling unit across the state, may not be able to do so.
Absolutely. The scenario you have just painted is the truth. I recollect even before now, some people wanted to travel to states outside Lagos for some, social engagements. But because they could not access the cash, they had to abort that journey. So it is not unlikely that there are some persons who are registered outside where they are presently domiciled, and they want to quickly run back there and cast their vote. But when they look at the stress that they have to go through, in able to be able to make the journey, some of them might have a rethink, unlike what used to happen in the past. So you see that a lot of people, the voters turnout, one just hope that those who are domiciled where their polling stations are will come out en masse, like, that has been the slogan everywhere. And that is what we should do even now that we are doing, that people should come out en masse on election day to cast their vote. But it is not unlikely that because of this cash crunch, people might want to travel to go and vote where they feel they have registered, might not be able to, make that journey because of the scarcity of. That is a very huge possibility, and it might affect the voters' turnout. I agree.